Welcome to the IDP Playbook, your home for all sorts of hot candy takes. Maybe we'll talk about some defensive football, maybe not. We'll see where the night takes us. I'm your host, Drew. You can find me on Twitter at DrewDotson NFL. With me are our awesome co-hosts, Tyler and Eric. You can find Tyler on Twitter at HBOMIDP. You can find Eric on Twitter at BreezeIDP. Guys, how y'all doing tonight?
Solid, solid. We actually got an early start here, or early-ish start in comparison to our more recent weeks. So, yeah, let's do this. I love this show.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I just heard that C.J. Anderson news is not serious, hopefully, so I'm in a great mood, and I thought I was going to be a little depressed, but let's do this thing.
Yeah, I mean, we only went 2 weeks in between shows this time. We've gotten a great feedback on the first two shows. Hopefully we stick with that trend. We've gotten a ton of listeners on the first two shows as well. So hopefully you guys are liking what we've done so far, and we'll hopefully keep it a more consistent feature of the playbook. And let's move right into our talking points for the week. And the first one is it's been huge. It's happening right now as we speak. Khalil Mack's playing at defensive end. We already talked about it a little bit during the regular playbook, but we can't let Eric not talk about it. And we have to rub it a little bit more in Tyler's face. He's going to be a D end. This guy, if he gets moved, he's top 5 or 6 right off the bat.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy assumption. I was projecting he was going to have about 10 sacks this year, playing the Von Miller Sam role and only playing true defensive end in nickel and dime packages, and now he's playing every down. When you think about it, it makes sense. They have Mario Edwards, the rookie, and they have Justin Tuck at defensive end, and they got nothing behind him. And so as much as I don't like Curtis Lofton, I love Curtis Lofton because him getting cut and then signed to the Raiders gives them more flexibility at linebacker. And, man, I'm super excited. The only thing I'll say is we've seen what happens with C.O. Moore. We've seen that he's had injuries. We love him here. I mean, we could talk about C.O. Moore for 2 straight hours and just give each other hugs and maybe a couple tears of joy. But he gets hurt, and if C.O. Moore does go down, it wouldn't, surprise me if Mack went back to linebacker. So it's a fluid situation, but I'm going to say that he's a top 5 defensive lineman, and that's mostly because he's got the ceiling, he's got the age, he's got the talent, and outside of, Watt and Quinn, nobody's safe. Chandler Jones has, some issues with will they be a 3-4, but you have to roster these guys. They're so good, and they just give you an advantage. And we thought JPP was safe, and look what he did. So he's number 5 for me, or number 4. I'd put him right behind Chandler Jones. So that's my take.
Yeah, I think that's where I would have to put him right now just because I'm at a complete loss with what to do with JPP. I don't think you can sensibly rank him up there in Tier 2 anymore. So for me, Mac, I got to think I'd bump him right ahead of Muhammad Wilkerson, same as Eric, put him right in the 4 spot. I don't know, do you think this is any type of condemnation on the way he played linebacker? Was he not fit to play that type of role, or is this more of a Mario Edwards just didn't step up the way that they thought he would, or is it a depth thing? Like Eric was saying, they got nothing on the D line, and the linebacker core is when Co's healthy. To me, I mean, even with Lofton being not the most well graded linebacker, it's a solid linebacker core. With CO and what used to be Mac, they got Ray Armstrong, who's a nice athlete. He's never going to be this great IDP play, but he's a solid Sam. And as of right now, CO's listed as the backup at will. I don't know if you guys have seen that or not. Probably has more to do with the injuries than anything. But right now they got Malcolm Smith at will, Lofton in the middle, and Armstrong at Sam. I was talking a little bit with B yesterday, and he said he thinks the most likely scenario, and I can kind of agree with him, is just kick CO over to Sam. Lofton come off the field on third down. CO and Smith are your nickel backers, but back to Khalil Mack, it is a somewhat fluid situation. It's like that with every defensive end, but you got to have them. It is the super, super thin position, and why not have this young, sexy, pass rusher in a 4-3 in a division that's got some pretty crappy offensive lines. He's gonna put some heat on some guys, and it's gonna be a really, really nice play in redraft and dynasty. So it's a bummer for me because I don't have any shares of him, like not one, not a single one. Because he's not the kind of linebacker I like, but as a D end, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't think this is a condemnation on Mack's play at linebacker at all. I think it's a little bit of mix between complete lack of depth at defensive end and kind of more of an indication that they're more comfortable with their linebacker core than maybe they were hoping when they picked up the free agents that they did. I think they're pretty happy with Lofton on first and second down as a middle linebacker. And, I mean, Smith, CO, and Armstrong, I mean, that's fairly solid in terms of depth. And in terms of, upgrading your front line with Mack, I'd take the small drop at linebacker. And you're absolutely right. There's no way they're going to leave Lofton on the field with third down because he blows in coverage. He absolutely blows in coverage. First and second down, I'm a fan. Third down, not so much. And it's more than likely why the Saints cut him in the first place, because we needed that 3-down linebacker, and he wasn't doing it for us. But he might be able to get those tackles enough to make him a viable IDP depth play for kind of your lower on your roster. But I don't think this is any kind of bad mark on Mack. I think Mack has shown that he's capable of everything they've asked him to do.
Yeah, I'll totally agree with that. The thing about Mack is, even last year, when he played a lot of D end. He played like 450 snaps at D end and only like 700 or 600 at linebacker. And when he was playing linebacker, they played a lot of like 4-3 under, where he was slid over and he was on the edge. He set the edge, and he was all pro at it. If he had more sack numbers, he would have been the defensive player of the year, not Aaron Donald. He had ridiculous amount of hurries. He just never actually took the quarterback down. He only had 4 sacks. So it is no way anything on Mack. It's putting your best player where you should, to get the most out of him. And I think playing Lofton and Malcolm Smith and C.O. more, even playing Lofton more. Playing Lofton more is better than putting Mario Edwards on the field day one every single play, or at least first 2 downs before Mack slides up, because Mario Edwards isn't ready, and I think they overdrafted him in the first place. But that's a whole other story. But no, Mack is a great player. They're doing, they're putting him where he will succeed. And the only thing I'll say about Lofton is about 3 downs is I agree. He should be a 2-down player. But 1, we're talking about the Raiders. And 2, they gave him a huge contract. They're paying him like $6 million a year for a linebacker of his caliber. So I don't know if they'll take him off the field. Or maybe that contract is just to get him over the Raiders over the minimum salary cap, because they always have that issue. So, but I agree. I think we're all on the same page here. Mack's a phenomenal player, and I think it's too late to maybe acquire him, but you can always try if somebody doesn't know.
Yeah, with that, we'll move on to our next talking point, which is New Orleans has looked at some different defensive fronts this offseason, and we could potentially be looking at New Orleans as a 4-3 instead of the 3-4 that we saw last year. And that could mean changes for a few players. First guy I wanted to mention was Akeem Hicks, who is a guy I mentioned as a sleeper a couple episodes ago. I still like him. He's slimmed down. He looks a lot more explosive than he did last year. He was kind of fattened it up last year, and he's looking like he's going to be able to really produce as a sleeper. Now, I'm not putting a whole ton of stock in that. I'm not going out of my way to get him still, but I like him more as a sleeper than I did before. So I probably would willing to take him a round or two earlier in a startup than I was.
Yeah, I mean, watching Hicks, and especially last year, you alluded to the weight. I remember watching him thinking, there is no way this guy is an edge player. And maybe he is. Who knows? And the 4-3 is inherently going to make most defensive linemen better for IDP purposes, more valuable for IDP purposes. The blockers just have one more guy to pay attention to. So, I mean, we're talking super deep here. Well outside the top 30 defensive linemen being selected. Why not take a run at a guy who's going to get some snaps? And in another good division. Another division that could be really friendly. So, yeah.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. That NFC South, the tackles are bad. I mean, you got Michael Oher out in Carolina. You got Sam Baker is retired now. They cut him off Falcons. So yeah, it is a feast down there. The thing about like the 4-3 change, I did watch quite a bit of film last year on the Saints. They played a lot of 4-3 from what I saw. PFF actually said they did, and I didn't believe them, but they did play a lot of 4-3. And Hicks was always playing 3 technique defensive tackle. He was fat. I mean, I think you brought it up, and I said if it was like an eating cheeseburger league, he'd be, a top 3 pick because he had a huge belly hanging below those pads, and everything I've heard on Twitter and beat writers from the Saints is he dropped almost 30 pounds, and yeah, if I heard that and they said 4-3, I would say he's going to be a tackle. He's not playing edge, but I heard he's doing good. That's a nice duo if he can play opposite of Cam Jordan. And if Cam Jordan's playing all the time out of 4-3, I don't know the exact numbers of how much they played last year, but Jordan's sack numbers, I think he's in for a big rebound. And then the other nice thing about a 4-3 is, you get a Mike linebacker. So they put up a lot of stats. So I guess I jumped the gun and went to the next position. So I'm pretty good at that. Ramble mode.
Yeah. With Hicks, it's not the weight that moved him to 3 tech because he played at 3 tech before he turned into a big old fatty because he was a way more explosive player in 2013 and he was still playing at tackle. So it wouldn't terribly surprise me if they still played him at tackle and potentially moved Kikaha down to end. And if they played him I think right now he's playing him at Sam, which I don't know what the plan is there, but I feel like Kikaha would better fit in as an end in a 4-3, and have Hicks play the tackle get some interior pressure because we need the depth at tackle. We do if we're going to run a 4-3. And that's part of what happened last year was we just, with all the injuries we had, that's why we probably were moving to a 4-3. So many injuries last year, sub packages everywhere, and it's a lot of what happened with Rob Ryan's first year back in 2013 was he wanted to run a 3-4 right off the bat. We didn't have the personnel to do it, so we ran a 4-3 his first year. But regardless of what scheme we're running, I'm a huge fan of Cameron for this year, and really just for the future. He's consistently put up huge, really good hurry numbers, really good pressure numbers, and even when the rest of the defense around him hasn't been good, he's put up really impressive performances, even if it hasn't translated to the box. And if the other defensive players are drawing attention, then he could very well increase his sack numbers, increase his tackle for loss numbers. So he's a guy I'm really looking forward to seeing continued improvement from this year.
Yeah, Cam Jordan's one of the more underrated defensive linemen out there. You just don't hear a lot about him unless you're watching the league, which is awesome. I'm ready for the league to come back on. I love that show. Yeah, Cam Jordan is just going to be Mr. Consistent with the chance of going big boom. You know, he could be the kind of guy that could put up some big weeks. This thing, to me, it's just screaming multiple fronts. I think we're going to see a lot of different looks out of the Saints this year. You know, they're decent up front, you know, with Jenkins, and I think they got old man Kevin Williams. And isn't he floating around down there?
Yep, you're correct.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see a lot of different things going on because David Hawthorne, he's not going to be your answer at linebacker. It's going to be Anthony's job. Ellerby, nice player. I think we're going to see a lot of 2 linebacker sets, maybe even some 1 linebacker sets, you know, with 4 up front. We're going to see stuff with 3 up front. I think we're going to see a lot of things going on there because they have to be creative because they just don't have the depth at certain positions. But the back end's pretty good. The secondary is not bad at all. Keenan Lewis, underrated. Vaccaro, who we really like. I love Vaccaro as a Longhorn. He pisses me off. But I do like Kenny Vaccaro, and they're going to do all kinds of crazy things with Kenny Vaccaro. You're going to see him line up at every position you could possibly imagine. So lots of potential going on here. Of course, whatever Roto World and MFL decide the scheme is going to determine some of this stuff. But, yeah, pretty cool situation. And one definitely, I know Drew's going to watch just by default, but I'm going to keep my ear to the ground on the Saints this year.
Yeah, actually, Drew brought up a really good point about Hicks. I forgot Hicks, you know, a couple of years ago. The Saints have been a 4-3, a 3-4, a 4-3. I mean, they've just been so all over the place. And, you know, if Hicks just doesn't have enough of that 7 technique defensive end and he bulks up a little bit more, eats a couple more hot dogs or hamburgers, and goes back into defensive tackle, Kikaha, if I remember correctly, didn't he lead the nation in sacks last year in college?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So right now he's playing Sam. He's not a coverage linebacker. I mean, he's playing Sam because they don't want to start Hawthorne and Ellerby. Might as well start a guy that can at least rush the passer, has athletic, or something. You don't want to start them both. So that is very interesting because if everything stays as it is today, Kikaha, or however you say his name, he's going to stay as a linebacker, which means he's going to be a value. He's going to be free in super deep rosters. He's going to be super cheap, and you can stash him. And you might be looking at a low DL2 next year. I mean, if those scenarios happen, and the DL pool is so dry that if you can get high upside free tickets, you take them. So it's a very interesting scheme right now. And we talk about how bad the Saints D is. Drew knows this. 2 years ago, they were top 5 in scoring. They just fell apart last year. They went out and got Jarius Byrd. You thought they were going to be better, and then they just crumbled. So I'm pretty excited to watch them this year.
Yeah, that's I am too. I need football season to start. I need my fix, and I need to, or at least better preseason games. I need to see some more first team reps. I want to see what Byrd can actually do with a full season. And Tyler's absolutely right. We're going to be looking at a lot of odd fronts. We're going to be looking at multiple DBs. We really pumped up our cornerback depth. We've got really good safety depth. I mean, Raphael Bush jumped in for Byrd when he got injured, and our defense barely skipped a beat in terms of our safety play. Raphael Bush is a killer third safety, and it's really going to help us introduce odd looks. And Rob Ryan loves him some sub packages. So hopefully he can get creative with that, and it generates some really some really good defense. Something takes us at least close to what we were in 2013, because Drew Brees is still Drew Brees. If we can have a decent defense, we can be competitive. If we got a shit defense again, probably not. But with that, we'll move on to our next topic of discussion. And I know Eric wanted to talk about Clay Matthews, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and start us off, bud.
Yeah, Clay Matthews. He's an outside linebacker. He's a good player. I hate him because he's a Packer, but man, he wreaks havoc in the backfield. And I'm still pretty surprised that the Packers didn't address inside linebacker more than Jake Ryan. And as much as we think of Clay Matthews pass rusher, he's going to play inside linebacker the first couple snaps, and he's going to play outside linebacker too. And I like that for real life and fantasy. Real life, as a Bears fan, he'll create less havoc. I mean, he'll still create havoc, but less of it in the backfield. And in IDP, I mean, you're going to get those tackles on rundowns, and he's going to be similar but better, I think, than Khalil Mack last year, who did that same thing, or Von Miller, who moves up, things like that. And I don't like Sam Barrington. Jake Ryan's meh. So Clay Matthews might be sitting on your waiver wire and tackle heavy, and he's a sneaky pickup. So I just think he's getting a little bit too forgotten because of his of what he's known for. But things are changing in Green Bay. They have no one to play inside, and they do have old man Peppers and Neal, and I think they'd rather play those three than play two of them and then play Barrington and Jake Ryan from every snap week one.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time not all that long ago where Clay Matthews was one of the 5 best football players in the entire league, and that was getting after it as a pass rusher. So what we get with him playing off ball in a 3-4, we've got this is fantasy goodness here. This is really good stuff for IDP because he's not going to be a Sam in a 4-3 where he's up on the line or having to bump the tight end, something like that. He's going to be in the middle effectively, and then he's going to move outside plenty. He's still going to get pass rush opportunities. He's going to move outside plenty. So what we've got is a nice little combination of what should be a relatively high floor paired with a high ceiling, which is pretty difficult to find in linebackers. So, we're going to have games where Clay Matthews could feasibly have 8, 10, 12 tackles, 2 or 3 sacks, and especially when we're talking sacks, we're also talking potential fumble force, things of that nature. So we could be looking at a guy that's going to go big time boom this year. If that is indeed what happens, and it certainly looks like what's going to happen, is he's going to play inside, and then he's going to move down and get after the passer, and he's probably going to blitz plenty coming up the middle. He's just a damn good football player. I mean, he is a really good football player. And in a redraft setting or a dynasty league where I'm trying to make a push, I don't even care what the scoring is. Tackle heavy, big play heavy, whatever. Clay Matthews needs to be in a lineup immediately and anytime he's active.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna echo what everybody said because I feel like everybody knows how good Clay Matthews is. He's a stellar football player, but I really want to kind of hone in on just how cheap he is. You can get him in a dynasty league for almost nothing. And even if you're not competing this year, if you look like you compete next year, I'd be willing to snag him up this year just to kind of get him in case he has a big season this year and he gets a little closer to being out of your price range that you want to spend. Because you could probably pay LB4 prices for him right now and snag him up. That wouldn't surprise me at all, which is just completely disgusting for how cheap he is.
Well, that had to do with who he was last year. And I've talked about my philosophy in linebackers. I tend to avoid the high variance rush linebackers, and I also play in mainly tackle heavy or balance leagues. I don't play in anything that would be considered big play heavy. So that's the type of linebacker. That's the type of backer that I fade.
Right,
So
upside players.
right, yeah, there you go. So there's a reason he's on a lot of wires and he's so cheap is because he's just kind of been forgotten about, and he hadn't put up these massive numbers like he was at one time. He played with the freaking War Club on his hand here a year or two ago, and he's missed some time. So I mean, there's a reason why he's cheap, and I'm not. I really can't imagine Green Bay going into 2016 with this same alignment. Of course, I didn't think we'd come out of the draft with this alignment. I thought for sure they're going inside backer first round, pow, lock it down, because there were a couple really nice ones, and they passed and went with Randall for I don't know why. They've already got two really nice safeties and a pretty decent defensive backfield, but I digress. But yeah, there's a reason why he's on the wire in a lot of places and it's so lowly ranked. It's because this is a fairly new development. As far as what's gonna happen, it happened some last year, but yeah.
Yeah, and with that, we'll move on to a little bit of discussion on the Bills' fluid position designation. And the reason we're talking about it is, for the second time this offseason, pretty much all the players on the Bills, all of their positions got flipped around again. And that's just why I don't roster any of them. I don't even want the headache. Even if they're good, even when they play really nice, it's just... It's going to change again. Watch. I wouldn't be shocked. It'll change again before the maybe not before the end of the season, but before the draft next year. It'll be completely flipped again, even if Rex Ryan is still in town. So I'm just not touching it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I guess what I'll say is just remember, it's already flipped twice. Don't ever think this is set in stone. It is so fluid, and well, even though Drew said he's leaving it alone, what I'm gonna say is, I will buy Hughes and Mario at linebacker prices. I will sell them at 90% defensive lineman prices probably. So you can make a good trade and get these guys and take good risks, but do not buy these guys at DL prices. Do not buy Jerry Hughes as a top 12 dynasty defensive lineman, which he would be if that position was locked in for the next 5 years. He'd be top 12. I mean, he's a good young player with huge sack potential, but yeah, it's a good time to sell if you have them. And if you can't sell because people only want to buy them at linebacker prices, then you just keep them this year. Because I think this year they're gonna stay. It's really late in the year, but you know what? Wasn't there a game today? The Bills game, was that tonight?
Yep.
We after this podcast, maybe tomorrow I'll be watching film. And you know what the thing is even if tomorrow shows a 4-3. Next week it could be a 3-4 if they didn't like how it worked. I mean, these guys are flexible. They've played in both. They know what they're doing. So if Rob Ryan wants to switch it, and Rob Ryan's always been a 3-4 guy, so, and he knows defense. That dude doesn't know quarterbacks. I mean, he had Mark Sanchez butt fumble, man, but he knows how to get every bit out of his defense and make a playoff team without any offense. So, take it as that. It's fluid.
I do want to make
and
one
I'll pass it off to
comment.
Tyler. Can we pass it off to Tyler, who's super salty that he dropped Jerry Hughes in all his leagues?
I did. It came rookie draft time, and you got to make cuts, and I'm like, I'm dropping this pass rushing linebacker. I don't want any more of this crap. Plus, he's a horned frog, and that just kind of rubs me the wrong way anyway. Yeah, I'm pretty salty about that. And then in one of my keeper leagues, I had Quinn and I had Mario, and I could only keep one, okay? So I trade Quinn, and I'm like, screw Mario, he's out of here. And I made a trade for Ansah, who I like, but I would have rather had Mario in a one-year situation. But yeah, it's so screwy. But whatever happens, I mean, we'll know here pretty quick. Well, whatever happens week 1, it's locked in. You know, if they're a defensive end, they're a defensive end for 16 fantasy weeks, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that. So I would play it just like that. It's going to be a 4-3 this year, but be ready to bail.
Yeah, and the comment I wanted to make was Eric talks about Ryan not knowing how to evaluate quarterbacks. We actually just got a blurb out that Tyrod Taylor will be the starter next week for the Bills preseason game. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Dude, I looked at his stat line. I looked at his stat line. He had like I might have looked at it wrong, but I swear he had like 8 rushes for 60 yards. Were they running triple option or something?
I don't know what they were doing. He had 5 for 8 and 50 yards versus Carolina. I don't see his rushing yards, but
apparently Shady's dead. I didn't see anything, but from what I read, everybody's ready to bury Shady. I am not ready to bury Shady. Not at all.
Wow. That's saying something, guys. You heard it here first. Tyler Huggins thinks a 27-year-old player is not dead. That means something, right?
Especially
there,
a 27-year-old running back. Well, see, I got the home league coming at the end of the month, the redraft league, so I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around some of this short-term value, and it's really tough. But man, that's Shady McCoy, dude. That isn't just some scrub.
yeah, he was pretty good for a while.
Tyrod Taylor had eight attempts for 49 yards. He had 5 completions, and he had 6 rushing attempts for 47 yards. So he is a dual threat quarterback, and wow, it's impressive.
I bet we get EJ Castle and Tyrod Taylor get multiple starts this year. It's going to be a freaking dumpster fire. But at the end of it, the Bills are probably going to be in the playoffs because they're going to crush offenses. Darius and Williams and Hughes and Bradham and Aaron Williams on the back end. I mean, this is a nasty defense. Just nasty. They just need somebody to keep them in the game.
Their defense might score more points than their offense.
It could be
a touchdown a game.
0-2 Tampa all over again. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter because they're just trade up in next year's draft and pick up Hackenberg. He's pretty good, I hear.
Some
people like him.
So divisive with that guy. That's going to be a fun one next year to watch what goes on with Hack pre-draft and when he gets drafted because he's going to go high. Guys with that arm, they always go high. Ryan Leaf went number 2 overall. But it's going to be really fun to watch the battle lines get drawn on Hackenberg. And I'll just grab my popcorn.
I saw a mock draft put Cardale Jones over him.
It's another interesting cat. Very, very, very small sample size.
3 games. But, I mean, it's hell of a competition he went up against when he's doing it. Wisconsin, Alabama, and Oregon. If you can play against them, you can play against just about any college team. So I still think he should have came out this year.
Sell high, right?
Yeah. I think we talked about way too much offense so far. Let's talk about Aaron Lynch. I mean, he was a 5th-round linebacker. He's probably got a little bit of potential, but I don't even think he's got that much upside as a stash. So he's just even if he makes it to a starting lineup spot, I don't even want him on my roster, even in my deeper leagues. I'll let somebody else own him.
Yeah, I'll make it short and sweet. If you have a 24 or 32 team league, that's not a standard league. You roster everyone. You just want guys that have snaps at that point. If you're in a 12-team league, I don't hate rush linebackers as much as Tyler does, but I like the elite ones. You know, you need 15, 20 sack ceiling. Aaron Lynch, I mean, what is he going to do for you? 6, 8, even 9 or 10. He's going to give you LB 35 numbers at a not every week pace. I mean, I've already talked too much. Meh. Tyler can say his piece.
Meh is the word here. And like Eric's saying, with those rush backers, you get a Justin Houston. He gets enough sacks, you're going to get a lot of elite usable weeks out of him. Guy like Aaron Lynch, he's going to be throwing bagels, dude. It's going to be 0 after 0 after 0. And then one week he's going to throw up 20-plus when he gets, 2.5 sacks and a forced fumble, and then you're going to play him next week, and donut. So I'm out. Does nothing for me. Not a bad NFL player. He's going to fill in for dumbass Alden. And that's just all there is to it.
Yeah, wash your hands of it. We're not talking about it anymore. Let's move on to our submitted questions for the week. Our first one comes from @TheIronBaden. And Eric, this question's right up your lane. Tell us all about the Chicago linebackers. I know you've had a great experience this week with them. Tell us how you feel.
Oh my gosh, we're doing this again. Shea McClellan has the green dot. He played every first team snap yesterday. He played with Christian Jones. He played in dime. Christian Jones, he looked decent. I think he looked a little timid, was the word I used on Twitter at the beginning. And then towards the end of the drive, he was gassed because the Bears were on the field for like 18 straight plays, just getting shoved right down their throats. So I think Christian Jones did all right. I mean, he wasn't like, this guy is a proven superstar stud, but I don't change my view on Christian Jones. I still like Christian Jones. Shea McClellan, I don't know what pictures of Vic Fangio he has. He must have him dressed, in a dress. I don't know what he's got. I mean, we could talk about this and it could get really, borderline. But man, McClellan, I watched the tape again this morning. He has no first step. The ball is snapped and he stands there. He waits for the blockers to come get him, and instead of filling the hole, shedding the block, and tackling the guy, he kind of lets the blocker engage him, and to shed the block, he instead backpedals to where they can't touch him, and then goes around. And, I mean, there was some times where he wasn't even getting blocked because there was the blocking scheme was everyone, it was a zone blocking scheme for that play, and they were just supposed to slide down. And the linebacker's not in the right spot because they aren't expecting him to still be 5 yards deep. He just was in cement. It wasn't even quicksand. And I don't know what to do anymore. I'm losing my mind. It's going to be a long year if he really plays. And it doesn't make sense to me. It's like he was a first-round pick, but he's not. He has no ties to this coaching staff or this GM. I mean, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're trying to light a fire under Mason Foster. Maybe that's what it is. We signed you for a league minimum. You've disappointed in your career. You got to beat out this guy, and then they're putting Shea McClellan in front of him. But it's not working. It'll be interesting to see next week. But I haven't soured on Christian Jones. But if you have Shea McClellan and someone's going to pay you anything because he's a 3-down green dot backer, do it. And then buy that person dinner for taking away all your pain.
For anything. Like, literally anything. I mean, trade Shea McClellan for Tim Brown, for Christ's sake. Get him off your roster. I think Randy Moss is still in the ESPN Fantasy Football database. Take him. Yeah, it's just kind of a mess, and I can feel Eric's frustration on that. It's just so brutal. So, yeah. And I don't have to feel it because I'm not a Bears fan. I could only imagine living in Chicago, being a Bears fan, and watching that. They're punting, dude. Bears are punting.
Yeah, I watched that game today, and it's a pretty apt description of his abilities, if you want to call them that. It's I don't want to watch it either. So, I mean, I'll do you a favor. I'll take a drive out to Chicago. We'll pull a Tanya Harding, and we'll make sure Foster gets in that starting lineup. But it was
Hell, I hate Bostic. I hate Bostic. I would take Bostic any day over what I saw yesterday.
It was
it was sad to see. I mean, he was backpedaling every play. So I don't know. And then you look on Twitter and you search his name, and it's all girls going, "Oh, Shea McClellan, he's so sexy." I'm not kidding you. That's what I saw on Twitter. All these, if you ever search up Brian Cushing, it's all about how good looking he is. So that's his best attribute, I guess. He's a good looking linebacker.
So he looks real good, but he's real dumb. Great. Good for you. But yeah, Christian Jones looked real. I mean, not real good, but I would take that 100 times out of 100 over anything that McClellan did. And he did warm up as the game went on. We saw some things he liked. More importantly, he looked like he was putting out effort. He looked like he was really trying to cement his position, and I feel like if that's going to keep him on the field, that's what's important. He's going to get snaps. That's going to turn into stats. That's what I want from, the guys who I'm stashing.
Man, my God, Jones has to be like planted deep, like up to his waist in his spot. Because if McClellan's ahead of Foster and Bostic and whatever else is going on out there, Christian Jones is all world, evidently. So I think we could buy Christian Jones really, really comfortably right now. I mean, we liked him before, but I mean, wow. I think it's pretty telling that he, at least in the coach's eyes, is probably the best linebacker on the team, unless they're blind. I don't know.
They took him off in nickel and dime, and they played a lot. That's why I'm so frustrated.
They took him off in nickel?
Christian Jones was off the field a lot yesterday in the first team D, and Shea McClellan was not. He stayed. They subbed out DeMontre Hurst. They subbed in their nickel corner, and out came Christian Jones. They should have took Pernell McPhee out there because he was embarrassing himself.
Yeah.
But
what do they do with McPhee?
Well, McPhee's an outside linebacker, but he was the big signing this year, and he played really good last year, but he must have been scared or something. So, okay, I'll stop because I'm not supposed to have the rant of the week, and it's in the middle of the show.
All right, let's move on to our next question. And at the Tragic, too, I got it this time. He wants us to talk a little bit about three-down linebackers and in-the-box safeties, and kind of in that he wants us to talk about green dot linebackers to target. And green dot linebackers essentially are going to be your three-down linebackers. They're guys that aren't going to leave the field. It's pretty rough trying to find information on who exactly has the green dot. Like, I follow the Saints religiously, and I can't tell you for certain if Stephon Anthony has the green dot or not. That's how difficult the information is to find. So, realistically, you just want to find the guys who aren't coming off the field for legitimately any reason. And, I mean, there's not too much to say. Your three-down linebackers are your bread and butter, your IDP team. Unless you're in DL Premium, then your team building kind of switches. But snap count's really the best way to find them, especially if you're looking for sleepers, mid-season even. The guys who are rising up. Really, I'm finding a hard time focusing on a certain topic because it's just so broad. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so many ways you can go with this. In the box safeties, I mean, every day you're going to prefer them over just your free safeties because they're going to get tackles. tackles are a much more consistent, easy to predict stat. That's all I got.
Yeah, so finding the green dot guys, boy, jeez, impossible. There's no way to know. I mean, we knew Avery Williamson because we saw they announced it. Avery Williamson's calling plays, and when you do get that bit of information, especially on a young guy, that's pretty dope, man. That's awesome. So, but I mean, the 3 down linebackers, obviously Kuechly, David, Wagner, Levy, those guys. Those are the guys that you're looking at. The in the box safeties. We talked about Vaccaro earlier. Landon Collins, who evidently went down today and went to went had X-rays today. That's not cool. He's another guy. I think T.J. Ward's going to play a lot more in the box this year. Cam Chancellor, who we talked about before we went on air. Breeze likes the Seahawks safeties. They're his favorite. There are a lot of guys that fit that bill. Antrell Roll's probably going to move up. Antrell Roll's so much better when he's close to the line of scrimmage. So, there are several of those guys who, like Drew said, man, snap count. God, it feels like we just bang that into the ground, but you just can't say it enough. Snap count is everything, especially when you get outside of the elite tiers.
Yeah, I probably could have listed players like we talked about before the show, but we got off topic so bad that I completely forgot we were going to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say, how about this? Your 3-down backers are pretty much everybody you're looking at. At least, 90% backers. I mean, you're not going to have more than 90 total tackles unless you're at least staying on the field for nickel. I mean, it's hard to get dime linebackers because there's only 32. I mean, dime means there's one linebacker and you're going to have more DBs, and there's only 32 teams. But every down backers, nickel, at least sub packages, there's 64 out there, and all 64 are usually rostered. And yeah, those are the guys you want. In the box safeties, we named a bunch of them. It'll be interesting to see what Kansas City does, because Branch is an in-the-box safety, and they signed Ron Parker, and they went and got Marcus Peters, and then we had that great news that Eric Berry's back, or at least healthy, and back in life and back in football. So that's just awesome. But we don't know what's happening with that, so that's another thing to watch. I would say that the only team I'm really thinking there's not an in-the-box safety is probably Tampa. They still play cover 2, Lovie Smith, and I don't really want either one of those safeties. People talk about McDougald a little bit as like a big-time sleeper. I'm just fading them. There's other ones. And for Chicago, I actually disagree with Tyler. I think Roll's better in coverage than down in the box. And from what I've seen in camp news, they actually like Vereen as the strong safety. And they like Mundy as the backup because he can do both. And, man, look at Tyler or Drew. He is excited.
Oh, he's got a Brock Vereen boner right now.
Suck it, Tyler. Suck it, Grandpa.
Well, me personally, just going back to watching Vereen in college, I thought he was more of a range guy.
And I thought you were more of a wrong guy.
I'm kind of surprised to hear that.
I agree. I thought Vereen was more of a range guy, but they're playing him at strong, and I think Roll has changed. I think he's played free, he's played strong, he's played all this, but from what I'm hearing, he's not very good in run, and he's better coverage, and I don't really know what's happening with Roll. A lot of people are saying Roll's going to be a top 5 safety in this year, redraft, all over the place. I'm not buying that, man. He's old, and your bone. I mean, I'm not one of those people that are like, I don't want this old guy on my team. He's not useful. But Roll is old, and I don't know. I'm not I'm not digging that top 5. Maybe I'll take him as like a DB2 for this year. But yeah, sorry to go off tangent on that one too. But that's you want those in the box safeties, except Cam Chancellor. We'll get to that later, I think.
Except Cam Chancellor.
Yeah, I don't understand how they have him as a top 5. I mean, Burnett, Smith, Sip. I mean, those are pretty much locked in top 5. I would think.
Redraft.
I mean, still. I mean, Harrison Smith and Burnett they're going to be vying for top 2 pretty easily, at least in terms of rankings, even in redraft.
You know who else is top 5 a lot in those? Ahedibo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ahedibo puts up points. Ahedibo.
Like
a lot of
31 now, isn't he?
Yeah, but a lot of people have Ahedibo and Roll, and I don't know if Ahedibo missed games last year, but I mean, he did good. He didn't do top 5 though, and I wouldn't project him at top 5. But you know what? Are we splitting hairs though here? It's like Burnett, Smith, and then who else is top 5? Take a handful of darts and chuck them.
I think you can put Burnett, Smith, Rashad, a healthy Sip.
Oh, Rashad. How did I get Rashad? He's my boy.
TJ McDonald, and that's about it. That's where I got uncomfortable in my dynasty rankings, and it's right in line with the redraft. I got uncomfortable after I got past those 5 guys.
Yeah.
It just started getting super fuzzy for me. Deion Buchanan's another guy who, man, I love Deion Buchanan, and Sean Weatherspoon is already hurt, and Kevin Minter you just can't trust the guy to stay on the field for 3 downs. So we're gonna see more of the Deion Buchanan linebacker defensive back hybrid thing going on, where he's more linebacker than he is defensive back. So don't be surprised if Deion Buchanan just goes boom this year. Don't be surprised if he doesn't, but it could really, really be there where he puts up a huge year.
Absolutely, and I mean, even with that news, though, I'm still not writing his name down in pen for a top 5, and I love Buchanan. Yeah. I was all about him as a rookie, but yeah, like you said, those names you listed off, those are the guys I'd probably pencil in as my top 5. You know, McDonald, Rashad, and Sip, in addition. But maybe that's my dynasty bias coming through. I don't play redraft anymore, so
it's really not, man.
Man, you like Sip that much? Sip's giving me this weird.
I had Sip as my number 1 overall last year.
Dude, he scares me. He misses so many tackles, and they drafted James Sample, who is a thumper.
Yeah.
I don't think his job is as locked down as people think. You know, Sip has the draft pedigree. The Jaguars have holes, but they're getting better. They're starting to go from we need to fill terrible holes to let's make our team better. And if Sip doesn't turn it around this year and play good on the field, James Sample's coming for his strong safety job. I'll call it right here. Sip is a sell for me. If you can get elite DB price, he's gone. And I have him too in a couple leagues. But man, he misses so many tackles. And he got embarrassed by Des Bryant. I remember that vine. Just thrown like a rag doll.
Everybody gets embarrassed by Des.
I was about to say Sherman gets embarrassed by Des.
Yeah, I do see where you're going. I mean, I get where you're going here, but how low can you sensibly rank Cyprian? I mean, you just can't even knock him out of your top 10 at the very lowest.
Oh, that's what I'm getting at. Is I think I have him 5, maybe. The reason my rankings aren't up right now, we're hopefully get them back. Like at the beginning of the week, we had a little problem at our DLF with our IDP rankings, but I think I have him about 5, and I feel uncomfortable. He gives me that feeling where you're just like, I don't like this, and I would trade him for Searcy plus something, or I don't know. He gives me like the creepy jeebies or whatever you call them. Little, goosebumps, but not in a good way. He scares me.
That's the something doesn't smell right feeling.
Yep.
I got a
Yeah,
lot
but
of pictures like something doesn't smell right, but
we're talking about DBs, man. Like, if he bombs, it's like, oh man, I lost a DB. So really, I'm talking about sell, sell, sell. You're not gonna get much for him, but if you could swap him for Rashad Jones or something, because Rashad Jones is older, I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Another DB who we need to write in pen for top 5, Weddle.
Oh yeah, we forget about old man Weddle. He just keeps doing it.
Oh,
How do
Yeah.
we forget about the beard? We
As
can't
soon as I
forget
thought about it,
the
I'm like,
beard.
oh, dumb. I feel dumb.
Shame all three of us for this.
If Eric Weddle finished DB1 this
and
year, I'd totally get it. I mean, the dude has been a beast forever.
Yeah.
dude, we should just end the podcast right now. How did we, all three of us? This is worse than you not knowing LSU guys.
We are hashtag
yeah.
the worst. Hashtag the worst. All three of us.
So bad.
We should, and somebody's probably gonna tell Eric Weddle. That would be sweet if someone's like copied us or on Twitter and was like, "These guys forgot you," and he listened and showed us some beard pics or something and said, "You made a bad decision, guys."
I'd be cool with that.
I love Eric Weddle. Gosh.
He's so cool. Wow.
Guys, we've already been going for almost an hour. That's crazy. Let's
Uh-oh.
So sorry, Mike Sood, we're gonna have to leave your question for next time, and because here's just a very in-depth question, we'd have to actually invest a good bit of time on it. So we'll move on to our next question at Joey Jits. Is it going to be worth the wait for Kennard? What do you think?
I mean, for what you paid for him and what you're gonna pay for him, he's a 4.3 Sam. I mean, he's a nice player. I really like watching him in college. I think we're probably looking at a LB3 ceiling type here. A lot's going to depend on the scoring. He could get you some sacks, but he's going to cap out at half a dozen sacks. The two productive positions there are going to be the Will and the Mike, and he is neither. He is a Sam. That's who he is. He's never going to be a Will or Mike. So, nice little player. I've got him rostered in a few spots. I got no problems popping him in, in a bye week or somebody gets injured or whatever. But my expectations certainly aren't like super high or anything.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. He's one of those guys where he's sitting at the end of my roster. As soon as there's a hot pickup name, I'm gonna have no problem dropping him. Just I don't know. I don't have a ton invested in him emotionally or in terms of capital that I put into him. And I just, even when he does hit, like you said, the upside isn't that high. And you can find LB3s on the waiver wire in just about every league. So that's another reason I'm not terribly worried about holding on to him.
Yeah, I'll echo you guys a little. I'm a little bit higher on him than you are. I think the question's kind of funny. Is it worth the wait? You don't have to wait. He's here. He's playing. I think he's playing all 3 downs right now. It's more, is he worth anything or the roster spot? I mean, he's worth the roster spot. I could see him actually hovering around almost 10 sacks. But, like I said, Aaron Lynch, meh. I think he's better than Aaron Lynch, but in leagues that I play, they reward sacks, and I'm looking at Justin Houston, and that's about all. I mean, I'll take Vaughn, I'll take Khalil Mack as a linebacker. I'll cover your ears, earmuffs, Tyler. I'll take Ryan Kerrigan, but that's about all. I need a guy that's going to get me 15 sacks, because think about it. Those rush linebackers, even in big play, you need a sack for it to be a constructive week for your team. You want to look at your roster and be like, that guy did a good week for me. That guy did good. That guy was, he hurt my team. if you only have 8 sacks, that means half the weeks is a dud. Like it might not be 0 with Kennard like it would be Aaron Lynch. I think Kennard's going to have more tackles.
Oh, absolutely.
But for it to be I'm glad I started that guy, he has to get a sack or switch positions. And I'm not going to say never going to switch. Beeston, we've talked about him a little bit. Meh. And he's old and broken. But will he ever switch positions? I don't know. But he's going to have to learn more skills to switch positions. So deep leagues, I like him. Big play, I like him as a depth emergency option. But he's right on like the fringe of I'd start him as an LB3, but I'm not happy with it. I'd be looking to upgrade to like Tyler always mentions, lower, he doesn't like those high variants, neither do I, unless it's Justin Houston, who the chance of him getting a sack is like 75%. I mean, he gets a sack. He gets 20 sacks, or that. I think I made my point. He's good, but I'm not investing anything to go get him. There's other guys out there.
Yeah. Speaking of high variance players, how do you feel about Anthony Barr?
Oh, same thing. I mean, I'm not really high on him. I think his name is worth more than he is. I wasn't even like, I had Khalil Mack as like LB17 in my rankings, but my comment was like, this is for big play and for tackle for loss leagues. In tackle heavy, drop him, or I didn't even say drop him in rankings. I said avoid, and that's how it is with Barr too. In sack heavy, when I say sack heavy too, I mean my leagues are crazy. Like I talk about my leagues, and the guys in our East-West chat, mostly Tyler, but I don't think Drew likes it either, is like gross. Because my league is like 10 or 12 points for a sack, and then 2 for a solo. Like you get 12 to 14 points for a sack, and there's crazy offensive bonuses. It's a crazy league, this league I'm talking about. But I'll risk it there. But if it's 2 points for a solo and 6 for a sack, or 7, or even 8, I'll fade those guys. I'm not a Barr fan. Plus, they have Kendricks, who he's going to be a 3-down linebacker because that's his best skill is coverage. And then who am I forgetting? Greenway. I love Greenway. He's an Iowa Hawkeye, man, but he's old and done. But I love Hodges. But yeah, I should probably stop talking about how meh I am on guys. So I'll let you guys talk about Barr.
I like Barr. Barr's a solid football player, but it's you brought up Khalil Mack, and that's a good comp for the type of player he is, and they came out in the same class, similarly pedigreed. So yeah, Barr's just how many times I gotta say it's just not my kind of IDP player. I do think he's a fantastic player. I watched a Vine on Eric Kendricks from, I don't know, preseason game last night or last week or whatever. Who cares? Really nice job. Scraped down the line, stacked 2 blocks, made the play. Beautiful. I mean, just beautiful. And that was one of the things that I didn't love about Kendricks as much coming out was the way he came down the line. But that's just a complete aside. But that was beautiful, the way he handled that. But Barr for me, I don't know where I had him ranked, 25, 28, 30, something like that. That's probably about what you got. And a lot of it's going to depend on your scoring.
I guess I'm going to be the high one here on Barr because I like Barr. I liked him coming out, and I guess I like him more as an IDP play. I think I had him probably low 20s, maybe high teens for big play, and I'm not talking like Breeze big play leagues. I'm talking like 6-7 point sack leagues. Because I mean, he's got that sack upside, but he seems to be just have a nose for the big play in general. Force fumbles. He just seemed to be involved in a lot of those plays, and I know that's not stuff you can predict year to year, but I mean, look at Levante David. He seems to just be around those type of plays year to year, even though technically you're not supposed to be able to predict him year to year. And Barr's one of those guys where I can't point to one specific thing why I like him. It's just when I watch him play, it's just I want to have him on my team. And I've probably got him overranked a little bit, but I'm cool with that. And age is probably a factor in it too, because I won't draft old linebackers. Like if you're 25, you're probably already too old for me. Honestly, if your car insurance is cheap, I can't draft you. And I mean I'm obviously
Can I say something
kidding a
real
little bit.
quick about Levante David? About how
If it's
awesome
bad,
he is?
no. Okay, yeah,
Oh.
go ahead.
So you talk about how he just got a nose for the big plays, and I agree. He's Kuechly with big plays. Or Keekly. I said it again. Oh, I did it again. I didn't say Kuechly. It's Keekly. Okay. Crazy thing about David, I remember I looked at this. He was still like really good in points per game last year, and he had one combined sack and interception. The year before, he had 12. So he just got unlucky. I mean, let's split the difference. Last year is not his ceiling. Again, of course it isn't. 2013 was better. I wouldn't say he's going to do 2013. That was insane. With all the 7 sacks for an inside linebacker. But yes, you said it's not a good idea to rely on big plays. But last year is not. I'm expecting better numbers per game from David than last year. He's just a monster, and he got paid. He deserves it.
Yeah, and the NFL Top 100, he was like the 58th overall player in the league. Best linebacker in the game, 58th overall player in the league. I love Levante David. The dude is just a freak. Just a complete freak. He's my number one linebacker. I'm one of the few that has him over Kuechly, but he's my guy.
Yep. So much upside. He's got that similar floor to Kuechly, but I feel like he's got his ceiling week to week is so much higher than Kuechly's, and that's part of the reason I like him. But I mean, Either way, you're not going wrong.
Yeah, I have him like to the point where whichever one's cheaper, I'm okay with. I'm not going to take the first one off the board. And No Positions Left Behind was the first I've ever gotten either of them, and I got both, and it felt wonderful.
Because finally, I mean, jeez. The way everybody's just punting linebacker because this league, this No Positions Left Behind league, this is the sharkiest bunch of sharks of all time. And everybody knows we're going to wait on linebacker. And so Breeze is getting these guys like, he got them way later than I've seen them go, like ever in the last 2 or 3 years.
It was like the 8th or 9th round.
No, I think
it was the 5-12. Yep, it was 5-12 and 6-1, and we were all playing chicken, and the thing is I got him there, and what I'm trying to say, and I was actually talking to somebody on Twitter on this because he was asking when he should take Kuechly, and I said I got him here, and you're gonna think that's a steal, but that's where he should go. They're still not worth more than a mid-first rookie pick because there's always going to be those rookies that there's going to be a handful that everybody wants, and they'll pay more than they will for a linebacker, even if it's the best linebacker in the league. So, sorry for that tangent too, man. I'm on a roll.
No, because I completely agree. You have to think about it.
Yeah, true. If it was,
I say going on tangents and rambling, that's just kind of our thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, you absolutely would want to take the earlier rookie pick because really Kuechly and David are at their peak value already. There's not much room for them to increase in value, where that rookie pick, there's almost no chance that it doesn't increase in value. So, yeah, that's why most of the guys who do IDP and do a lot of it punt linebacker, because most of the linebackers you're drafting early on are already at their peak value. Whereas the guys later on, your Keenan Robinsons last year, your C.O. Moores last year, you got them super cheap, and we knew the chances were pretty good they were going to increase in value. And this year, Paul Dawson, even Shaq Thompson, one of Tyler's guys, these are guys that have a huge chance to increase in value. Christian Jones. It's a better way to maximize kind of all of your picks' values.
But it's the deepest position in fantasy football is linebacker, and that's not even debatable. I mean, I guess quarterback is deep, but whatever. But even when you're playing 4 linebackers, it's still deep. It's not difficult to go find X percentage of Luke Kuechly. It is incredibly difficult to go find X percentage of Antonio Brown or Julio Jones. That's why I drain offense, drain it till it's dry, and elite defensive ends, and then I'll go ahead and look at linebacker at some point. It's super nice to have that security blanket, have those stud LBs in your lineup. There's nothing feels better than clicking Levante David's name on that submit lineup every week. But it does come at somewhat of a premium.
Yeah, and with that, I think we'll move on to our next question. Comes from @B_hug. White chocolate versus dark chocolate. I think the answer here is pretty simple. It's going to be white chocolate, because I want my chocolate to actually be sweet, not bitter and grumpy like Tyler.
I mean, we can't. We're not. Are we talking? Did it specifically say dark chocolate?
It's a dark chocolate.
Yeah, no, gross, dude. Dark chocolate is horrible.
It's nasty.
It's just the worst. I don't want anything to do with it at all. So this is white chocolate all the way. Now, if we're talking milk chocolate, and then we got some debate here, especially if it's Hershey's milk chocolate, which is just the best stuff on earth. But white chocolate versus dark chocolate, they're not even in the same zip code.
No.
All the way.
Dark chocolate is a last resort.
Yeah, it really is. And so my wife and I, we are kind of winos. I drink beer too, but we do enjoy wine. There's a really good restaurant by us that's a winery, and they have truffles, and like the chocolate truffles, not like, and they have white chocolate and dark chocolate, and she always gets dark chocolate. I mean, will I eat it if it's the only chocolate in my house and I want to eat some chocolate? Yeah, because I just love food, I have no self-control, but I always get the white chocolate, and I feel like white chocolate, like sometimes people look at you and judge you for it. Like, I feel like white chocolate maybe isn't so manly, but I'm okay with that. I love white chocolate, except on those Kit Kats that you showed me last week, Drew. No, regular Kit Kats.
I will side with you. Milk chocolate Kit Kats are absolutely better. Sometimes I got a craving for white chocolate, so why not take it in the best form, which is the Kit Kat?
Change up. Throw a change up. You know what dark chocolate reminds me of?
Okay.
You remember dark chocolate reminds me of the little Hershey minis, where you got the milk chocolate, you got the crackle, you got the Mr. Goodbar, and then you got the dark. All right.
The part you throw away.
Right. Mom comes home with a big old bag, and the Mr. Goodbars get picked off really quick because they're awesome. And then the crackles are gone because they're also awesome. And then you get to the milk chocolate, which is fantastic. It's just not as fun as the other two. And then at the very end, there are like 6 or 8 dark chocolates just sitting in the bottom of the bag, and they will be there for 7 years because me, my brothers, nobody's touching that crap. It's just horrible. Just the worst. And I kind of get what Breeze is saying about white chocolate being kind of sissified a little bit. I guess white chocolate's kind of like ordering the fruity drink at the bar because that shit's good. Your wife gets a drink and you're like, let me have a drink of that because you want to try it because it's delicious. That peach Bellini is bomb, and it's bomb.
Yeah. Have you ever had a lava flow?
I have not,
It's
but I can't imagine it's not
it's
good.
like a pina colada with strawberry in it. For our honeymoon, that's all I drank. It was awesome, and it was out of those big, you know, crazy tall glasses with a big piece of pineapple and a big straw, and I'm just living the dream. So
Yeah.
white chocolate, and I also enjoy like when they do spins on white chocolate. Like Hershey's has a candy cane Hershey. It's got like white chocolate, but it's like peppermint flavored white chocolate. That's pretty good too.
Where have I been? I'll like peppermint bark. I'll crush the peppermint bark. I guess it's kind of similar to that, but I have not seen this Hershey bar. Probably seasonal.
No, sorry, Hershey's Kisses. They're Hershey's Kisses candy cane.
I gotta get on that.
They are seasonal. They're Christmas, but they have that, and they also have mint ones. I don't like the mint ones. Go with the candy cane. They have these little, those little sprinkles that are like actually little spheres, and they like rub your tongue. They're like scrubbers that come in weird soaps. They have those in them, and I don't know, it's weird. And like, you know.
Now,
Sorry,
Tyler, I figured out a way around your girly drink dilemma. Monster and vodka.
Monster, anything in Monster. I'm listening. You had me at Monster.
Dude, I've gotten hammered beyond belief on Monster and vodka, and you get to stay up later and get hammered because you're wired. It's the perfect combo, and it's gotten me in the day after my 21st birthday. I probably spent about $80 on Monster and vodka, and got talked out of not drinking alcohol by the bartender who outsmarted me and just fed me different flavored water because I was still awake, but more hammered than I ever should have been, and still be conscious. But I mean, how is that not a good idea? How seems like a good combo to me.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
failed to see anything bad in that.
Till your heart explodes.
That's
Yeah.
right. Who wants to be old?
Really. And it's delicious, which is the best part.
Who wants to get to that point where they're, not valuable in dynasty football? Let's just end it.
I mean, I don't even know why Tyler's still here.
I don't know how I'm alive. I am a pillar. I do everything wrong. I just ingest garbage from the second I wake up to the second I go to sleep.
Oh, okay. Last thing on this. After Niles' Paul injury, there was a tweet from I don't remember. It was some big fantasy guy that said the best available tight ends are these 5 guys, and one of them he tagged was Tom Crabtree, and he quoted the tweet and wrote, "I just ate Doritos and Red Bull for breakfast."
That is.
Yes.
They should sign him just for that. That is a goat tweet.
Yeah, he has no intention of coming back and is just living the dream.
That is great.
Oh my! I love Tom Crabtree. That's awesome. Breakfast of champions, right there.
We've all been there.
All right,
So,
and
I don't
Brady's.
necessarily prefer the Red Bull. I'll give you the Monster. But
I mix it up. I definitely partake in some Red Bull. Even though it's expensive.
Brady won again. He totally just took it. There's not even rails, or you couldn't even see where the rails are. The train is at the bottom in a heaping pile that's about to explode, and it's already on fire. So thanks, Brady.
Yeah, and he still has a second part to the question we have to talk about. How do you feel about 0 bars?
0 bar is a change-up for me. What is a 0 bar? It's like almond and is it even white chocolate? It's more like a fudge kind of thing going on. I like a 0 bar. Every now and then,
Definitely.
0 bar is like a $2 scratch-off lotto ticket for me. It's a wild hair kind of thing. Every now and then, I'll get a wild hair and grab a 0 bar and a scratch-off ticket. But I like a 0 bar, but indifferent for me.
Yeah, it's
Never had
one
one?
of those.
No, sorry, never had one. And if it's called a zero bar, I mean, that doesn't appeal to me whatsoever. So I'm just going to say no. I'm sorry, Brady, if that hurts your feelings. So I'll let
You need
Drew.
to at least try one. It's a
It's all
totally
right.
different candy bar experience.
I told him last time that
I'm
he's
all.
put paydays right in the toilet, so
And
I feel like
I went on a payday binge. Like later that week, I went and bought the bag at the drugstore. You know, the big old bag of bite-sized paydays. Crushed them, dude. Crushed them. So good.
yeah. How was that? It was pretty bad, wasn't it? You should have bought a different candy bar.
No,
It would have been better.
I actually enjoyed them. I really do. I can't. How can you not like payday?
They're
What?
bad.
I mean, what's bad about it? I mean, it's caramely gooey and peanuts. Who doesn't like peanuts? Peanuts are awesome.
Peanuts are disgusting, and they hurt my teeth.
Oh, oh my gosh.
Say something bad about peanut butter, and it's on like Donkey Kong.
Oh no, I love peanut
Okay,
butter.
all right.
Peanut butter's fantastic.
You were towing the line, dude.
Sorry, nobody cares about your old man opinion anyways.
Oh, we need to move on because I can't have any more of this peanut slander.
All right, next one comes from @JesseSevere. I'd be curious of your take on good IDPs on bad defenses teams, and his example is Terrell Casey. And for me, it's somebody's got to make tackles. It's not like a crappy offense where they're just going to get shut down altogether. Somebody's got to make tackles. So like Barry Church did in 2013, he just racked up tackles because he was the only name in town. Terrell Casey is going to rack up a ton of numbers because he's the best name in town. Levante David was, tell me all the other good defensive players in Tampa Bay last year and in 2013, and I'm still going to show you a guy who was one of the best IDP players there was. It just doesn't make a difference to me.
Yeah, I think I would say that usually bad teams, the linebackers do better, just because there's more opportunities. The opposing team is winning and just running the ball, and that is how Paul Puzzlesny is known by people. And in Dynasty, though, it's hard to boost people for saying this guy's on a bad team. I'm going to boost him up significantly because things change, man. Look at the 49ers, best team, one of the best teams 2 years ago. Now they're one of the bottom 5. I mean, you could say bottom 2. I mean, they're in a turmoil. So I would say that I don't really pay attention to team, how good they are. I like the talent, but I do pay attention to Seattle being so good that they limit everyone not named Bobby Wagner because they're just never on the field, and he eats all the tackles, and they all just make too many damn plays.
Yeah, I just don't pay it really any attention at all. And this brings up something for me. It's kind of a sore spot for me. Drew and I, we not as active as we used to be on Reddit, but we've been members of the Reddit Dynasty community, and of course, to become members of the Dynasty community, used to hang around at Reddit Fantasy Football. Which I'm sorry if anybody's listening and is going to get offended by this. That is an absolute just toilet. Reddit Fantasy Football sub is the most garbage thing of all time. But I remember about a year ago, I clicked on a thread in the Reddit Fantasy Football sub, and I shouldn't have, but I did. And people are asking about IDPs, and the first answer that comes up, or the first comment, response, whatever you want to call it, and it had 157 million upvotes, was IDP is all about luck, and it's all about picking shitty players on shitty defenses because they're the only ones that'll score. And that is the most asinine, uneducated, just babble I've ever heard. Is there some truth to it? Yeah, there is an element of truth there. Paul Puzzlesny is, Exhibit A in this. Bad defenses stay on the field. Bad defenses are down, by 20 points, so the offense is just going to ground and pound, grind the clock. So there are more opportunities. But Carolina's had one of the best defenses in the league the last few years, and Luke Kuechly feeds. I mean, it happens over and over and over. Good players are going to put up points regardless. And like Eric said, I certainly don't want to be short-sighted and try to give any one scheme a nod above the other because I think the defense is bad because things change really fast. Look at your leagues where you play team Ds. Look at what happens. You start off the year, and this team here is the clear-cut number 1 team defense, and this team here is the clear-cut number 2, and then by week 4, who the hell knows what's going on? Anybody can pop in there at any time, and all it takes is a couple players to come out of nowhere and turn a defense into a legit machine. Jelani Jenkins, Olivier Vernon. All of a sudden, Miami's got a damn good defense. Didn't look that way a few years ago. Things change really, really quickly.
Yeah, not much else to say. And our next question comes from @Slimbo737. In a dynasty rookie draft, would you take Stephon Anthony over Jalen Strong? And my answer is absolutely not. I love Stephon Anthony, but there's no way I'm taking a linebacker at like 202, especially not in this class. And that's how high I'd take Jalen Strong. Right around there, maybe 204. And I'm not taking Stephon Anthony that high, so I'm not taking Stephon Anthony over Jalen Strong. So, Breeze, you're all alone on this one.
All right. Well, I got to congratulate Tim on he needs a troll award because this was great when I saw it on Twitter. And if you're not following Tim, he's got like 200 followers. That should be a crime. Absolute crime. So I mentioned that if I was in a position on a certain league that was 2 points per solo and you had to start 5 linebackers, that I would take Anthony over Jalen Strong. And I don't think that's the craziest thing to say. I don't like Jalen Strong like these two guys, so I'm surprised they actually let me on this show. But I just like Anthony. I like his situation. I like his draft pedigree. I think he's got a great ceiling. He's not C.J. Mosley. He's not Ryan Shazier. He's not on that level. But I don't think it's crazy to say that. And I'm one of those people that I don't take IDPs in rookie drafts. I wrote, that was my first article at DLF, or it might have been my second, that do not take rookie pick or IDPs in the late first. That is crazy that people do that. Shop that pick. Get a already proven IDP that's better than what you're going to get rookie pick. So if I'm sitting there between Stephon Anthony and Jalen Strong, I'm shopping that pick for an IDP or something I need or another wide receiver. But if I have to pick one, I'll take Anthony in those exact scenario. If it's start 3 linebackers, boom, I'll take Jalen Strong. But the fact that I have to explain myself is just a legendary troll job by Timmy.
And well disguised to anyone that isn't in our East-West Voxer group, which is awesome, by the way. East-West Voxer group is just epic. We can go in any direction. For me, this is, let's change Stephon Anthony to Eric Kendricks or Paul Dawson or whoever, and let's change Jalen Strong to Devin Funchess or David Johnson or Philip Dorsett or somebody like that. I'm going to go offense every time. If I'm keeping the pick, I'm taking the pick. I'm going to go offense. If it's even somewhat close, I'm going offense. And then I will start to look at IDP after it dries up, or unless we have an elite IDP, C.J. Mosley, Shazier. Next year it's going to be Jalen Smith. It's going to be Jalen Smith. That's going to happen. And, and this year Dante Fowler was a guy that I would look at that range, just because of the positional scarcity. But, yeah, I'm like Eric. I'm in a ton of leagues, and I can count on one hand the amount of rookie picks I spent on IDPs this year. I would go 7 rounds and all offense.
Yeah, I'm the same. The only time I really spent rookie picks on IDP was if I was drafting Fowler or Randy Gregory.
Yeah.
And it's positional scarcity, and these are first round talents. Randy Gregory, the only reason he fell to the second round is because he's a pothead. Plain and simple. He should have gone even before where Shane Ray went.
Jesus Christ.
Pot shot.
Yeah, Gregory is. I really hope he's a thing in the NFL because, man, that dude jumped out on the tape in Nebraska. Whether you watch live, whether you're watching draft breakdown, if you were watching somebody playing against Nebraska, you're like, wow, who is that guy? That's Randy Gregory, just burning up the ends. So, nice little tangent again. But, yeah, I think we're all three in agreement here that offense is king, especially in rookie drafts. And even if you don't like the players, the value alone tells you to go offense.
Yep.
And that's a good point. That's a good point that, I don't know, but it was one of those in the moment things where start 5 linebackers, and I'm relatively shallow at linebacker because I just went on a spree this offseason, and I was getting good value trading away IDPs, and I love linebackers. I love hoarding them, but if you can trade IDPs into offense, do it, unless they're elite, because you can get them easier. So as much as we're saying the value is there, it's kind of because I tapped my defense out. I was making moves, and I don't like Jalen Strong. I'm sorry, guys. Actually, I'm not sorry. I just don't like him.
A lot of people don't like Jalen Strong, but a lot of people are going to have egg on their face in a couple years. Jalen Strong's going to happen. And that brought up something similar. I did the same thing in the league. Man, I had like the sexiest linebacker core of all time. And this is a start 4 safety league. I had Antrell Roll, and I had Barry Church and Jonathan Cyprian and Honey Badger, and I got these really nice defensive backs. And I just started trading, and I traded, and I traded, and I traded. And I look up one day, and I'm like, shit, I don't have any linebackers left, and I only have 1 safety. So I got to go scrounging the wire and making trades and doing all this and that. But in the end, if you're moving IDPs for offense or rookie picks, even in packages, you're going to end up ahead if you do it enough. You might lose a trade here and there, but you're going to come out the victor more often than not if you're moving IDPs that aren't named JJ or Luke or Levante.
Yep. And Eric, the reason you're allowed on the podcast, even though you don't like Jalen Strong, is because this is an IDP podcast. There's a reason we haven't let you on the regular Dynasty podcast yet.
Hey, man, that's true. That is so true. I do. I'll do a little plug here. I don't think he needs a plug because he's much more popular than us. But buddy Scott Fish over at DLF, he is running a Toys for Tots charity event, and you throw in $10, you get into a league. There's going to be prizes. It's just you get to play with a lot of cool people, cool leagues, and there's a league that you do a team, and it's a 2-person. You have a team and you play separate leagues, and go check it out. But Tyler and I made a team, and he's like, just pick a name. So I picked We Know Offense 2, and then like 7 dots, and it's like kinda. So I think that's pretty fitting that I'm not allowed on the regular podcast, but I'm okay with that.
So me, it's more like I think I know stuff about offense, but like I said yesterday, I think I'm just going to kick all my future offensive decision making over to Drew and Tim because I think they got a better handle on it. I'm just going to do linebackers, nothing but linebackers.
Yeah, it's funny because we talk like we know IDP too, and watch.
Yeah.
Like this is the first year that we're all like being very vocal about it. Like I've had so much success in the past, so this year every one of my predictions is going to be wrong. It just seems too right for that not to happen.
God, we got our neck way out there on some guys. If Denoris Cersei flops, we're in trouble. And for me, if like Denzel Perryman comes out and smokes it, I got my neck way out on him because I got him damn near unrankable. So there are a few guys that we are way on one side of the fence versus a consensus, and most of the time you'll find that us three are in harmony on those guys. So look out.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting season because we did the same thing on offense. Tyler and I have been shooting some fire, and it's we're going to be seeing how that plays out here very soon.
I just want like a 60. If I get 60% right, I'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, honestly, if Brandon Cooks hits, everything else can be whatever. I don't care. He needs to be like wide receiver 8 or better. If I can win that bet, I don't care. And
Smoking hot right there.
it's not that hot.
If he's a wide receiver 1, you hit, man.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 12, that's a hit.
It's going to happen.
And you know what? If it's wide receiver 15, it's a hit. He's young. It's his second year. So, but I think you're right on that one. I'm on the Cooks train. Always have been. And now a lot of people are on him because he made one catch.
I swear to God, if the preseason, the offseason, all this crap, if it doesn't end really soon, I'm going to go insane. I just want to go live in a cave for the next few weeks. The hay's in the barn, dude. All we got to do is get fade injuries for the next few weeks. It's done. You know, for me, that ship has sailed. All my evals, all my rankings, all my everything is set in stone. Just don't get hurt. But I can't take any more of this hype or hate or I can't. I just can't. The word sleeper makes me want to vomit. I just wrote an article on on sleepers the entire time. I'm just like, ugh. I've been doing this for 6 months.
Honestly, this is the most in-depth off-season I've ever had, and I'm burnt out. I'm super burnt out. I didn't think I could do it. Like last year, I was doing startups and rookie drafts all the way until the season started, and I was hyped up the whole time. And now, I can barely look at Twitter. I can barely look at the league without just like, can it just be football already? I don't want to do this right now.
I just want a football.
Can you teach me how to football?
I'm stoked for college, man. College football kicking off. You know, we get to see if Charlie Strong's got his shit together down in Austin. We got Malik Jackson, this true freshman linebacker that is supposed to be just all world. I saw a little bit of cut-ups from him in high school, but Devi IDP guys, like super deep heavy Devi IDP guys, yeah, pretty pumped for this kid.
Yeah, quick note on next year. I think we're all in conclusion, or in again harmony, that you know this draft it kind of dries up quickly. I mean, you guys like David Johnson, and you like this, but if you have your rookie draft like now, because I have one in my hometown league, and I know a lot of people do. They have their rookie drafts in August. If you can trade a second this year for a first next year, do it. And if you can get seconds next year for cheap, do it. Because seconds next year are going to look way better than seconds this year. And the IDP are, and I'm not going to take any credit for this one. These two guys are telling me IDPs are worth way more next year, and I believe them because they watch tape, they look at these guys, and I don't do much college scouting, but I'm just unimpressed with this IDP rookie class. I mean, especially with the Fowler injury. So just keep that in mind, that I know it's really fun to make rookie picks and get rookies on your team and all this, but if you can move up around next year, I would do it. I mean, you really have to think about that long and hard before you select that rookie if you have that offer.
Yeah, stockpiling seconds and thirds for next year. I've already got a bunch stockpiled. And one of our guys, Doug Veach at UTH, wrote an article, and I don't remember how long ago he wrote it, but it was a really cool article, and the title of the article was "Throw in a Third," talking about making trades. You know, and the trade is close, so you think you get a little bit more, have your trade partner throw in a third. You never know what that third could turn into, and especially with the depth that we're already looking at in next year's class, especially on the defensive side. Yeah, stockpile those seconds and thirds. People will give them away. You know, if they're looking to make a trade, it's just a second rounder. You know, you never know what that could turn into. It could be a legit, big time player. Last year, a second rounder gets you C.J. Mosley. You know,
Gets you OBJ.
oh shit, A-Rob, boom. All the
OBJ didn't
A-Rob.
fall to the second in any of my drafts, but Allen Robinson made it to the second in plenty of my drafts.
Yeah.
Unless I had a first-round pick, then he didn't.
Yeah, it's kind of like Stephon Diggs. I thought A-Rob was 108 just because that's where I was taking him.
See, my drafts were late, or the one that I'm thinking of, and that was when A-Rob or OBJ had all the hamstring injuries, so people just started fading him. And that's happening right now with Kevin White. People are getting all scared. It's like, he's fine. This
Dude,
is Dynasty.
I saw Justin Hughes just put out a tweet. He just did a rookie draft. He got Kevin White at 108 or 109. I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. God, the short-sightedness right now, and the lines between Dynasty and Redraft are getting really, really, really blurry right now. And situations getting cooked in a lot more than what it was early. You know, because Camp Buzz and Roto World and their presence in the community. Got a Roto World blurb will just set the world on tilt one way or the other. But, yeah. Get future seconds, get future thirds. It's never a bad idea to do it in any class, but next year especially, man. We've already looked at several wide receivers in the regular playbook, and I'm already comfortable going 10 deep at wide receiver, 4, 5, 6 deep at running back. We got the quarterbacks that look good. The IDPs are going to slide, and that's where you're going to be able to pick them off.
Yep, and I think that counts for about, 4 rants tonight. And we're at about an hour and 45 minutes, so I think it's about time to call it a night.
I think so.
And we got some really good questions left over for next time, too. Sorry we didn't get to them. Fantasy Outlaw left us a great question. And Fantasy Outlaw, really awesome guy. I went on with the podcast with him a few weeks ago, and he's now writing for Dynasty Nerds, which is really cool. Dynasty Nerds has added some really good writers to their staff.
Yep, absolutely. And I love some of the guys that are doing work over there. Tim, I know Justin's done some work over at Dynasty Nerds, too. I know Third Down Professor is also doing some work over there. They've got just a solid stable of guys over there. And with that, I think...
and I think, real quick, I was talking to Outlaw on Twitter. He's trying to bring IDP over there. They've never had IDP section, so really nice guy. I believe he came from the DLF forum with because that's where I started. And, yeah, you should be following him, and you should be following Tim. And if you're not, then you shouldn't be following us because they're probably smarter than us.
Yeah, if you're not following Tim, Slimbo737, there's something wrong, because go read his stuff over at Couch Coach. Some of his wide receiver articles is just like, whoa, like really good stuff. And then, like I said, we said about Fantasy Outlaw is just, he's another one of the guys in our IDP community. He knows his shit, too. I mean, he's solid. So there's just so many guys out there that are just kind of, and hell, like we said, Drew and I a year ago were dicking around on Reddit. Breeze was dominating his home league. We just finally decided to get a voice. Whether we know anything or not, at least we're loud.
Yeah, I feel like we're pretty good at being loud. I don't know how informed we are or intelligent, but we certainly are loud. And with that, I think that's we're going to call it a night. You guys have any last parting shots for us? Yes!
You did it again!
All right. I've got a parting shot for you, but I'm going to have to go clean that up when we get done. Guys, this has been a blast as always. I think we got a solid 20-25 minutes of IDP talk done tonight. This has been the IDP Playbook. Yeah. This has been the IDP Playbook. Your host for a little bit of IDP talk. All the shenanigans. I've been your host, Drew. You can find me on Twitter at DrewDotsonNFL. With me have been my excellent co-hosts, Tyler and Eric. You can find Tyler at HBOMIDP on Twitter. You can find Eric on Twitter at BreezeIDP. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.